Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, welcome to another episode of the Chaps Chat Cats, a part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. My name's Jake, and I'm joined in the virtual studio by the one and only Mr. Johnny Larkin, often imitated, but never. What's the rest of that saying? Duplicated, replicated. Johnny Larkin, how are you?
Pretty good. Can't complain. How are you? Oh, actually, pretty good today after
Ah,
watching the replay of the game that we're about to recap.
Yes. It's going to be a glorious episode tonight as we recap Geelong's AFLW thumping of the Gold Coast Suns up on the Gold Coast. We're going to get into all of that. Then we're going to duck behind the Patreon paywall part of the show. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of our thoughts about key performers from the weekend. So, yeah, there's always a little bit extra for our Patreon subscribers on the Hoops Crew. You can go on over and start a 7-day free trial, see what all of that is about. The Hoops Crew on Patreon. And, Johnny, before we dive in to the old recap, we've got to say a big Hoops Crew Media Network thank you to our new Media Network sponsor, Cyril Cook Florist. They've jumped on board for the end of 2024 and into and across 2025. You can visit their website, www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au. That's Cook with an E. You can phone them up on 035 222 2244, or if you want to make use of a 20% in-store discount, toddle on over to Shop 1211 Leather Street in Breakwater. Tell them that the Hoops Crew sent you, and you will get a 20% discount off your next in-store purchase. Gotta love that. For the value, Johnny. But you know what else we have to love? Footy. And it's still rolling on.
Yes.
Despite the men's team being knocked out at the prelim stage, we've recapped that. We've got an AFLW team that may have just got its season back on track, Johnny. And this is how it unfolded on Saturday afternoon up on the Gold Coast. It was Geelong who took command of the game early. Now, it took 8 minutes before the first score of the game. And when that score arrived, it was off the boot of Shelley Scott, who kicked a lovely opening goal. 6 minutes later, Aisling Maloney was on hand to add Geelong's second, a third for Nina Morrison after 18 and a half minutes, and a fourth right on the buzzer from Kate Kenny, putting a ball long inside 50. The siren goes while the ball's in midair, and it bounces long and home, and Kate Kenny kicks a lovely goal. That put the Cats up 24-0 on the home team at quarter time, very deserving of their lead, and it was a lead they would only extend all the way to halftime, John. The Cats piled on another 4 goals, 2-0 in the second quarter. It was Aisling Maloney, Jackie Parry, Zali Friswell, and Jackie Parry again, setting Geelong up 8-50 to zip at the major break. If there was any thought of a Gold Coast chargeback in the third term, Geelong swiftly put that notion to bed. Aisling Maloney with her third of the game after just a minute and a half of the third term. Shelley Scott with her second after 6.5 minutes. And while the Suns hit the board via the boot of Tara Bohanna shortly after, the final goal of the quarter, the final word really, was put on the board by Aisling Maloney, her fourth of the day. They were all pretty remarkable goals too from Aisling Maloney. Geelong, they took a 71-7 lead in at three-quarter time. They extended it rapidly in the last 2 goals to Michaela Bowen and Jackie Parry. The Suns, they kicked a goal. Geelong responded via the boot of Georgie Rankin. The Suns got another goal to Daisy D'Arcy. Shelley Scott kicked a third just before the final siren, and the Suns squeaked another one home via the boot of Tara Bohanna. The game ending, Johnny, 15-6, 96 Geelong to 4-3-27. The Suns, the Cats, they put a bit of a whipping on the home side to hopefully spark their season.
Yeah, it was. We were looking for a response. The Cats were looking for a response after last week's pretty dismal performance, and boy, did they come out and absolutely put on a performance. It's what we were hoping for. I think was this what they were expecting to start with as well at the start of the season. So to see them come out and just absolutely annihilate the Suns from the start to the end was very pleasing to see it over 4 quarters, and not that the Suns have even a sense that they could come back into this game. Even in that second quarter, they were sort of putting a little bit of a second half, sorry, they were putting a little bit of a a little bit of a fight where they got inside 50 a bit more often, but the Cats just snuffed everything out and just didn't let them get a foothold in this game. And just let I feel like they let Charlie Rowbottom sort of do her usual thing, but I thought the impact of her was very much very less than what it usually is. By the sounds of it, she was very stuck in that midfield,
Mm.
right at the guts of the game, trying to get the ball out to other players, and wasn't able to use her usual power. So that was a really big win for the Cats. And then the Cats were just too good around the ground. It's like the years of hard work, working together, sticking together is paying off nicely, and you can see the sort of big difference in this game. And I think this is a true reflection of where the Cats are actually at. Those first 3 games, we sort of saw where they were this year, but we always thought this isn't the usual Cats. Normally better than this, should be better than this. We expect better from them, and they delivered in spades. It was an absolutely
Mm.
terrific game for everyone. Everyone put their hand up and redeemed themselves very nicely in this game in perfect weather, hostile ground, in the Gold Coast, far away from home. So yeah, big thumbs up. Absolutely sensational, and to see that forward line just absolutely fire and kick that many goals, 15, 6. That is that is something that you love to see, and I can't wait to Thursday night. Thursday is it night time? Yeah,
Yeah,
and when we
7:15, the game against the Hawks.
play the Hawks, so it's going to be a good game, and the Cats are in fine form. They don't have a big break, but I feel like after a game like that, you want to get right back into it again, and it's felt like a pretty bruise-free game for the Cats. Like there was a few heavy tackles, but it looked like the Cats came out of it pretty well, fresh and dandy. Apart from Meg McDonald, who had a few issues early in the game, but she still ran at the game pretty well, I believe. And
Yeah.
the Cats this is a step in the right direction. And yeah, as I was saying, it was a must-win game. To come away from the must-win game with a 69-point victory, you could have asked
Nice.
for anything better, really.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that it's funny, we talk about, redeeming themselves for the performance last week and a reflection of where they're at. Something that stuck out to me when the goals started flying through in the first half, I thought you could see relief from this Geelong
Yeah,
team of like, oh, thank God we can still actually do it. Like, last season wasn't a mirage. Yeah, that best level of footy is still there. That was really the overriding vibe I got early on in the game, particularly in the first quarter, and it sort of lessened across the match. But early on, it was like, oh, thank goodness. Where it's not going to be another week where it doesn't, go to plan, where it all comes unstuck. Suddenly it was like our skills are still there. Our game plan still works. We can still go and carve up an opponent that was, all the folks on broadcast before the game picked the Suns to win the game, and the Cats simply went about unspooling everything that the Gold Coast wanted to do. But I really did think you could see some relief. Now that changed and
yeah,
morphed, I think, into some joy and a bit of fury and a bit of ferociousness as the game went on. There are a few actual sort of dust ups and that sort of thing across the game. Darcy
yeah.
Maloney always managing
Don't
to get involved in those. But
don't mess with Maloney.
I Yeah, don't mess with Maloney. I just thought
That was
that
a great
it
man.
was it was nice to see them get that relief because it's been a
Yeah,
pretty tense opening 3 weeks to the season, like disappointing losses in the opening rounds, or a loss and a draw, and then a really disappointing loss to the Blues. And then to respond this way was so good and so affirming. I'll be interested to see how they carry it into the next game. Obviously, we'll get to that in our preview pod, but it was just nice to see this happen. I don't know about you, Johnny. I thought the weather allowed Geelong as well to move the ball a little
yeah.
more cleanly. I'd still have a couple of question marks maybe if we play in another, rain soaked game. But what sort of elements stood out to you in terms of the way Geelong took Gold Coast apart? Like, what sort of things did you see maybe that have been lacking in previous weeks? Did anything stand out?
Not much stood out. It was just as you said, it was that relief that they still think they knew they can do it, and it was just the confidence from those first few goals that they got. They were like, we still know how to play this game. We're still really good when we're on as a unit, and we didn't see that last week. So to see them come out this week and just back themselves, like every player backed themselves. So they played on when they could, as soon as they could, and back themselves that they either get around the player or find a teammate or just outmark them or be too strong for the Gold Coast Suns. So it's just that reinforced idea that they are good enough to take on a team that's similar in sort of skill and experience that the Cats are, and just to go, we're better than you in this game, and we're going to show that we're better than you was really positive to me. It's just that idea that they weren't afraid to take those risks. They weren't afraid to go through the middle, possibly turn it over um, a few times, like going inside 50. There was a few times like that's a risky kick, but it still worked out most times. And I was like, that's a risky kick, but it shows that they're backing themselves, that they've got the confidence in themselves that they can either mark it or bring it to the ground or pile on that pressure to keep it inside 50, and they did most times. And if the Suns did get it out, they were still so well set up that they could stop them before they went inside 50. So it's just that whole like structure, confidence to take the game on that was lacking last week against Carlton that they found, and sort of even lacking in the first 2 weeks where they had the sort of the structure set up, but they still didn't have that full confidence that they could take on Melbourne Kangaroos. And I think after this game, they should be full of confidence going into the next rest of this season. Going, if we back ourselves, we can beat anyone, and I believe they can because this was a fairly sizable, big win and a massive win on the road. So yeah, it was just that confidence and them backing themselves, each other, and backing each other as well to do the right thing. And I didn't see anyone really colliding with each other trying to get the ball. If one one went up for a mark, there was a cat waiting on the ground to either crumb it or pile on the pressure on Gold Coast. So yeah, that was another really good positive was they weren't getting each other's way. They were allowing each other the space in the room to navigate and get through.
Yeah, I I thought I saw a couple of things that looked very different, and obviously the weather plays a part. But having said that, both teams get to play in the dry weather. Just like last week, both teams had to play in the wet. It was Cats, the Blues, and Carlton just handled the ball so much more cleanly. It was like they were
Mm.
playing with the dry footy, we were playing with the wet footy. I thought it was the reverse on the weekend. Gold Coast, um, you know, talk about the Suns, though, the Gold Coast Butterfingers. I thought for a while there, Johnny, like
They were, weren't
they
they?
they couldn't pick it up, and Geelong were able to just collect most things cleanly, and at least more cleanly. And I thought that was a big difference, which was sort of strange in good weather that one team would fumble the ball so much. But then the way Geelong used the football, there's a couple of stats that sort of stood out to me. One of them was the uncontested footy. Geelong had a bunch more uncontested touches, 156 uncontested possessions to 112. Now, the Cats beat them in contested as well, but the uncontested is what stood out to me. They also took more marks, 58 to 36. And specifically, and this is the area I thought Geelong got maybe as right as they have all season, was the marks inside 50, Johnny. They took 12 to 4. So I would hazard a guess that that's definitely Geelong's season high in terms of marks inside 50. And it was the way I thought they put the ball inside 50. It was to the
Yeah,
advantage of their teammate most of the time, whether that was leading their teammate to it or kicking over the back so that a teammate could, outpoint their opponent and take a mark from behind. Like, I just thought Geelong's general, handling skills all around the ground, whether that was on the deck or in the air taking marks, um, their general disposal efficiency, I think it was 70% to 61%. They were just the cleaner, more efficient, more effective team. Um,
yeah.
you know, and they really just they capitalized on it, and that obviously translates to in front of goal, 15 goals, 6, and there were some absolute rippers kicked,
Oh,
um,
wasn't there?
both from set shots and on the run.
Yeah, it was so good to see those set shots going through and the bounce of the ball sort of going our way, apart from that first shot by Ashley Maloney when it just stopped, went straight up. I was like, oh, don't tell me we're going to have another one of these games where we're going for goal and it just decides, you know what, I'm going to bounce straight up so the opposition can get it. But apart from that one bounce, we couldn't miss. They just could not miss this game. It was incredible to see, and that's going to be another great confidence builder. Is just going, oh, I kicked a bag of goals last week. I can back myself in from this part of the ground, and I'll nail it 5 out of 10 times or 9 out of 10 times. So yeah, the goal kicking was just exquisite. What we'd been hoping for. As I said, this game just was everything that we're expecting from probably near the start of the season and what we were hoping for,
Mm,
and to see them come out and deliver at such a crucial time in the season when this is like a elimination from the finals game. Whoever lost is going to find it
mm,
really difficult. So for the Cats to come out and just dominate from the start, it's like good. They're up for the fight. They're in this for the long haul. They know knew what was at stake, and they made sure Suns didn't get even a sniff from the start. Like, really, the Suns did not do anything until probably even that
mm.
last quarter. Like,
Yeah.
that 3rd quarter, they got a goal and a couple of other things went their way, but I thought the Cats were just too dominant the entire game. Like, not even patches, just if patches in that 4th quarter where they sort of got a bit of luck on their side, and that was about it. But apart from that, the Cats were just too strong, too dominant, and just exploited their weaknesses. And I think one of the big weaknesses for the Suns is their reliance on Charlie Rowbottom. I think they're relying far too heavily on her, and that's one thing the Cats have over many other teams. Is yes, Amy McDonald may be one of our best and absolute superstars of competition, but if she's not playing her best, we've got Nina Morrison who can step up and play an absolutely outstanding game, or we've got Becky Webster who can stand up. We've got Ashley Maloney who can stand up and
Mm.
deliver in big moments, which she did. So, yeah, the Cats have pretty well stacked through the entire team. Where if one player's not firing, we got the backup to make sure that there's still some impact coming through. And yeah, Amy McDonald's game wasn't her usual high standard, like in terms of stats and all that, but it just allowed Nina Morrison to do her stuff. It allowed Becky Webster to run right through the half back. So yeah, it's just so pleasing, so happy to watch it.
And I was just going to say on the Amy McDonald thing because you transitioned perfectly to the point I was going to bring up, which was the commentary team talking about Amy McDonald having had a relatively quiet game, just 14 disposals, 5 clearances, for Geelong, obviously well down on her usual output. But stepping into that breach, you mentioned Nina
Mm.
Morrison, 26 disposals, 7 clearances, 7 tackles, and a goal. You mentioned Becky Webster, 21 touches, an absolute pile of meters gained. Just trying to bring up that stat, and the computer keeps wanting to hide it from me. 429 meters gained and a goal assist. But some other names, Johnny, that I thought really stepped up. Michaela Bowen, who
Mm.
probably had her best game of the season, 25 disposals, 6 marks, 4 tackles and a clearance, 3 goal assists and a goal herself. And the other one who often I think gets forgotten is Darcy Maloney, 22 disposals and 4 clearances. She was
Yeah.
the third best clearance winner for the Cats. I love Darcy Maloney's game. So it was just great to see this midfield respond of like, great, you can take Amy
Yeah.
McDonald's influence away if you pile resources into trying to stop her. But good luck to stopping all these other players. And it's not just Nina Morrison. And we're playing without Prasparkas, John.
It's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I'm the same with Darcy Maloney. Absolutely love the way she goes about her game. And favorite part of the game was when she just decked the opposition player, stood over her, and I'm imagining a few words she would have said, which is, "You don't f around with my teammates," or whatever. But it looked like she was saying something pretty intimidating because that Suns player looked
Yeah.
absolutely terrified, and then she just walked off. I was like, "Geez, that's a player who is just in control, knows her strengths, her weaknesses." But boy, her strengths are strong. She's a strong
Mm.
character. Like that was impressive how she just tossed her to the ground and then stood over her,
Yeah.
completely intimidated her. I was like, "Good on you, Darcy Maloney. Give them nothing, and yeah, you don't mess with Darcy, and you don't mess with a teammate when Darcy Maloney's around because you're gonna be on the ground going, 'Oh, don't hurt me,' like the Suns player."
She, she's such an unlikely enforcer. Like you wouldn't
She
if you had
is,
to
isn't
pick
she?
out of the lineup, you lined everyone up and said which player do you think would be in the most dust ups and do be the one who steps in and lays a bit of physicality if your teammates are getting pushed around. I don't think you'd pick Darcy Maloney even in maybe your top
No.
5 or 6, but she absolutely is that player, and she's always been that player. I think back to
Yeah.
the first season or so that she played, you could see the signs that she loves getting involved in that part of the game, and I love it. I think she's a really talented player, and she's also just a massive
Yes.
pest, like a real thorn in the opponent's side.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought exquisite game by Darcy and Michaela as well.
mm,
Them two stood up in the absence of, Amy McDonald's influence being curtailed, but those two
mm.
just stood up magnificently throughout the game.
Massively important win. I think that's definitely how
Mm,
we can sort of accurately frame this. Is that this was huge, a really huge
huge.
response. I I would say that for me, I'm keeping my expectations of what should come on Thursday relatively in check. Only because we've had such a varied set of data so much this
Yeah.
season. Like the results this year have been so weirdly different. Really in a really close games against Melbourne and North, then just really outplayed by Carlton, but in bad weather. And then we go up and dismantle the Suns. So I, my feeling is that we talked a bit about it on the pod already, Johnny, but that coming off last year's prelim, you can come into this season and you expect that it's all just going to click. We'll soar back to a prelim, and that'll be that. But the reality is, you're on a whole new journey. 2024 is a totally different campaign to 2023. Everyone's back at base camp, and you've got to start the climb again. And I just feel like it's great to see that this footy is still there, but
Yep.
I suppose I never doubted that this quality of footy was there. My question mark was, and I guess still will be, about consistency, because that's what, say like the Adelaides, the North Melbournes, Brisbane's, etc. That's what they bring to the table, is their best footy, or at least like 85% of it, most of the time. So
Yep.
I think that will be the question mark now of like, excellent. It is definitely there. This Cats team hasn't, this is what I kept saying to people. Like there's plenty of talent there. This isn't a talent
There is.
or recruitment issue. This is a superstar team. It's about now, can we put it together, and get it going
Yeah.
again this season? I think this can be a big reboot point. Um, I'd love
Yeah.
to do. Yeah, you go.
As I say, feeling very similar to you that it's the personnel is all there. It's just about
Yeah.
finding that chemistry that was there last year. And by all means, it looks like they found it this game. And hopefully they can continue mining this chemistry and get the season back on track, which I've got full faith that they will.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's one of those things, isn't it, that I just think, last week it was actually hard to do votes because it was hard to find a player, find players that you went, oh, they were clearly the best on ground, or they were clearly
Yeah.
in the best form. Like, you could sort of think back to moments where everyone had their little stumble. Whereas this week it was hard because I really struggled to find players that had poor performances. Like, I felt like
Mm,
everyone really cracked in and had a go and actually put forward their best effort and their best execution. So it was tricky, but that's what we're going to move into now, Johnny, is the best on ground votes. And we will do it. We'll each give our one, and then we'll both give our two, etc. So where did you go? Who was your one vote this
my
weekend,
one vote,
Johnny?
I went with Michaela Bowen. Just another pretty special gamer, Michaela. Probably could have gotten a bit more, but I thought the other two players that I picked for 2 and 3 just did that little bit extra. But yeah, another reason why she's one of my favorite players. Just an absolute gun, go
Mm,
getter, gets everything, puts herself in great positions to either get a really hard tackle, like that tackle. I think it was in the third or fourth quarter. I think it was Charlie
mm,
Rowbottom was charging forward, and she just stood her ground and took her to ground. As like, that's a great tackle for such a small player taking
mm.
on a player as big as Rowbottom and winning. Massive tick, massive win. So she's just such an unassuming player where people go, I could
Mm.
just get past you, but you're not getting past Michaela Bowen. You're really getting past her. She's so strong in that core, the hips, the legs, muscles, everything about it
Mm.
is just full on strength. And could have had 2 goals, just missed that
Yeah.
first shot, um, which would have been pretty crazy if she had 2 goals. That would probably got in nearly my 3 votes. But yeah, just another excellent game by Michaela Bowen. I'm glad we picked her
Could
up
have
from
actually
West
had
Coast.
3 goals, 1 goal,
She
2
could have.
in the end for Michaela.
Oh,
Yeah,
she could have had
Michaela
3,
Bowen.
yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go with my one here, Johnny. I went Nina Morrison.
Yep.
Always knew she was going to factor into my 3 votes. Somewhere, I just thought she was exceptional. 26 touches,
Yeah.
7 tackles, 7 clearances, 328 meters gained, kicked a goal. I feel like she was. I can't remember if I named her my best player against Carlton, but I definitely thought at times, like last week, you just get the same thing from her every week. Like, she is so consistently her best. She won 16 contested possessions, which was second most on the ground behind Charlie Rowbottom. She had 6 score involvements, which was equal third most on the ground. She won 3 free kicks, 4 gave away none. I just thought she was a commanding presence in the middle of the ground for the Cats. She uses the ball really well. I just love the way she goes about her footy. We'll snake here, Johnny. I'll give you my
Yep.
2 because we're going to go back to the player that you gave your 1 vote. I gave 2 votes
Nice.
to Michaela Bowen. All the things that you said, and I'll just add to that, I suppose, that she plays without fear. You know, you talked about, the strength to bring down a player like Charlie Rowbottom, the toughness to go and attempt it is what I love. Like, you
Yeah.
just don't see her shy away from contact. You don't see her shy away from tackles, whatever the dirty work that needs doing. Michaela Bowen seems very willing to do it. And we talked about this from the very first few games we watched her play at the Cats. She is so clever. She's so crafty. If you let her have 25 disposals in a game, she's gonna hurt you. So she ends up with 10 score involvements, which was game high. She kicks 1 herself. She sets 3 up. She had 3 goal assists. So a hand in directly in 4 of Geelong's 15 goals. She's so impressive. And I don't know, Sam talks about Becky Webster as a future captain at the Cats. Maybe Michaela Bowen as a future vice captain at the
Yeah,
Cats.
definitely.
Um,
I could see that.
uh, Johnny, who was your 2?
My 2 was your 1 in Nina Morrison. So, yeah, just everything you said about Nina Morrison, just, yeah, she's a great player. It was good to see her back up last week's performance and deliver yet again for the Cats. I thought she had a couple of quiet weeks, the first 2 rounds. So to see her start find a stride at the right time of the year is really pleasing to see. And yeah, I thought she was just a big reason why the Cats were able to dominate through that midfield. If it wasn't going to be her, it was going to be Amy McDonald to dominate, and I'm glad it was Nina Morrison was able to take the lead a bit and help this midfield dominate.
Mm. That leads us to our 3 vote.
Yes,
Where are you going, Johnny? Who's your best on?
I'm going all the way over to Ireland to Aisling Maloney. I mean, what a performance this was! The 3 goals
Yep.
on the run, just back to speed, back to skills, back to everything, and yeah, just crazy good. I'm not sure what that shot at goal she was trying to do with the weird shot. I thought it was going to go through. I was like, don't tell me that's going through, but it didn't. But just her ability and her way she reads the game is just next level. Like, it's like she's been playing this game for a long time, and I think playing Gaelic football in Ireland has helped a lot. Like, but even but that's even with the round ball. With the Sharon, she's still able to read where the ball's going to bounce and how it's going to react, and it's just incredible to see. And so glad she got 4 goals and absolutely burnt every Suns player that went near her.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like you said, back to skills and back to speed and back to herself. Like, she's my 3 votes as well. I just think she's
Yep.
just a total different game wrecker. Like, how
Yeah,
how do you become so good at a sport so quickly? Um,
I
the
thought all the
confidence
Irish
to
players. Oh, sorry, I
yeah,
was just going to say all the Irish players were incredible this week as well. I thought they
yeah,
all
I think
stood
that's
up at moments.
definitely the angle we should attack first in our Patreon section, because I've definitely got
Yes,
some thoughts as it regards to Kearns, Kenny, and Kennedy.
Kennedy.
No way, Kearns, Kenny, and Kennedy. All right. So yeah, no, we'll definitely get to that. But Ashley Maloney she was incredible,
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. Now the goal, the kick, the outside of the boot from the pocket. She kicked one like that in the preseason game I watched. Just absolutely
Oh,
thumped it through. So like, I think she backs herself to score from
yeah.
almost anywhere. the first goal, was it her first goal where she got the ball sort of on 50 and just took on opponent, just ran and
Yep.
ran and then cut back in and snapped it over her shoulder? Like, she's a
Yeah, she did. Yeah,
special player. Um,
she really
remember
is.
when we used to get terrorized by Cora Staunton for the GWS
Yep.
Giants? And I said, one day Geelong's going to get their own. And that's exactly what we've got. And I would almost say plus some, like,
Oh, yeah,
because Ashley
definitely.
Maloney has so much room to grow, here. She's not a player that's, towards the end of her career. She's just getting started and she's just kicked 4 goals, 1, and
Yes.
shown absolute disregard to her opponent.
Yeah, those 3 running goals where she just completely just ignored the Suns players coming after us. It's like, "You're not gonna catch me, and if you do, good luck, I'm still gonna get the ball away in time," and, yeah, just that confidence in her own ability and her own skills to back herself to go in and, yeah, it was pleasing to see and so happy that it's back. That's she's
Mm,
found it at the right time. Same as Nina Morrison, same as so many players have just found that 2023 form and gone, "That's right. This is how bloody good we are. Let's use it." And it
yeah,
was at the right game, a big game that needed a big win, and yeah, to turn the season around off a 69-point victory and off Ashley Maloney
nice.
kicking 4 goals, Perry kicking 3 goals, Scott kicking 3 goals. You couldn't have
Mm,
asked for a better forward line performance, and then Morrison, Michaela Bowen all chipping in
mm.
with, a couple of goals, Georgie Rankin, like, it's just one of those performances. Dan would have put up the wall whiteboard going, "This is what we want, but this is what we might be able to achieve." I think they got exactly what they wanted to get out of this game, and it's so good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big confidence builder for everyone involved. Hopefully, it was a big confidence builder for you at home as well, and that you're well and truly invested in the journey that's still to come for the Cats AFLW side this season. It's a big fight now on our hands to make the 8, but we've put ourselves in a better position than we were in prior to Saturday afternoon. And now we're going to go on
Now,
over to the Patreon part of the show. We're going to discuss more in depth some thoughts on players that maybe didn't make our votes, but who, displayed really good form and effort and execution. We'll talk about them. So go on over, start your 7-day free trial. Give us a go over there on the Hoops Crew Patreon. But until then, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Hit that subscribe button. And until next time, go the mighty Cats.
go Cats!